A 20-year-old streamer openly admits he's used dangerous stimulants to stay lean, talks casually about breaking his own bones to improve his face, and even jokes online about running someone over with his car. And somehow, that's exactly what made him famous. Over the past year, one of the most bizarre figures to come out of internet culture has been a guy known online as Clavicular. To his fans, he's the ultimate example of looks maxing. The idea that you should push your appearance to the absolute limit no matter the cost. But to critics, he represents something much darker, because behind the viral clips, the bizarre terminology, and the constant talk about jawlines and bone structure, there's a story about obsession that seems to get more extreme every month. He's promoted everything from experimental drugs to risky surgeries, harshly rated strangers' faces in front of thousands of viewers, and built an audience that hangs on every chaotic moment of his life. And the strangest part, the more controversial things get, the bigger his platform becomes. But this story didn't start with live streams, viral clips, or internet fame. It started years earlier, with a quiet teenager who became completely fixated on one thing: becoming physically perfect. Before the internet knew him as Clavicular, he was just a kid from New Jersey named Braden Peters. By most accounts, his early life wasn't especially public or well documented, but what has surfaced over time paints a picture of someone who always felt slightly out of sync with the world around him. Peters has said in interviews that he's on the autism spectrum, something that can sometimes lead to intense hyperfocus on specific interests. And in his case, that interest eventually became physical appearance. While other teenagers were focused on sports or social life, he became deeply absorbed in bodybuilding culture. He spent hours watching videos from larger-than-life fitness personalities and scrolling through forums dedicated to building the perfect physique. The message in those communities was simple: if you want results, you do whatever it takes. And Peters took that idea very literally. By his own admission, he began experimenting with performance-enhancing substances while he was still extremely young, chasing the kind of dramatic physical transformation he saw online. At first, the goal was straightforward: build muscle, get bigger, and stand out physically. But eventually, that focus began to shift, because while browsing bodybuilding forums, Peters discovered another corner of the internet, a strange ecosystem of communities dedicated not to muscles, but to facial structure. Here, users weren't just discussing workouts. They were analyzing skull measurements, jaw angles, eye spacing, and bone structure like it was a science. And once Peters fell into that world, everything changed. Soon, building muscle wasn't enough anymore. Now the goal was something far more extreme: redesigning the entire face. And the deeper he went into those communities, the more radical his ideas about self-improvement became. But posting anonymously on forums wasn't going to satisfy that obsession forever. Eventually, Braden Peters decided to bring his philosophy out of the shadows of the internet and into the spotlight. Once Braden Peters discovered looks-maxing forums, things escalated fast. These communities weren't like typical fitness spaces. Instead of talking about workouts or diet plans, users were obsessing over things most people had never even heard of: facial ratios, bone density, eye spacing, jaw projection, and something they called the halo effect. The idea was simple, but extreme. If your face looked better, your entire life would improve. Better jobs, more respect, more attention from women, everything. And according to the forums, there were endless ways to optimize your appearance. Users analyzed skull diagrams, debated tiny facial measurements, and created guides explaining how to maximize every feature of the human face. For someone already prone to hyperfixation, it was the perfect storm. Peters quickly became deeply involved in these communities, posting frequently on appearance forums like looks.org. Many of his posts revealed just how intensely he was thinking about appearance. At one point, he even wrote about limiting himself to speaking just 50 words per day, believing it might somehow improve his social presence. Other posts were far more unsettling. One story he shared about feeling humiliated at a urinal comparing himself to another guy and spiraling into intense self-doubt, spread across the internet and eventually turned into a viral meme. To outsiders, it sounded absurd, but inside those forums, it was treated as a brutally honest example of how deeply appearance anxiety could affect someone's mind, and the obsession kept growing. At one point, Peters even asked if there were videos of surgical procedures he could watch, because he was curious whether certain cosmetic changes might be possible to perform on himself. To most people, that kind of thinking would be a massive red flag, but in the world he had immersed himself in, it almost felt normal, because in looks-maxing culture, the ultimate goal is something they call ascending, becoming physically superior to everyone else. And eventually, Peters decided he wasn't just going to discuss that idea online, he was going to build his entire identity around it. When Braden Peters finally stepped into the public internet, he didn't use his real name. Instead, he created a persona built around the very thing he had become obsessed with. He called himself Clavicular. The name wasn't random, it came from the clavicle bone, the collarbone, which in looks-maxing culture is considered a key indicator of the ideal male physique. Wide clavicles create the broad-shouldered V shape that many people associate with peak male aesthetics. In other words, even his username was a reference to bone structure. At first, his content focused on explaining the strange theories he had learned in the forums. He talked about facial ratios, jaw development, eye support, bone density. To most viewers, it sounded like a bizarre mix of cosmetic science and internet slang, but the clips were strangely fascinating. He explained controversial techniques like bone smashing, a practice where people intentionally cause micro trauma to facial bones in the belief that they'll grow back stronger. He demonstrated tricks to fake a sharper jawline using makeup, and he broke down people's faces using clinical language, pointing out supposed flaws in their bone structure. The more he talked, the more attention he got, because while other influencers were promoting confidence or self-acceptance, Clavicular was doing the opposite. He argued that appearance determines almost everything in life, and that anyone serious about success should be willing to change their body however necessary. It was controversial, it was uncomfortable, and it was extremely viral. Within months, clips of him explaining these ideas were spreading across social media. Some people watched because they agreed with him. Others watched because they couldn't believe someone was saying these things out loud. But either way, people kept watching, and as his audience grew, so did the intensity of his methods. Because talking about appearance was only the beginning. Soon Clavicular started showing just how far he was willing to go to achieve the perfect look. As Clavicular gained more attention online, his content started moving far beyond strange beauty theories. Now he was showing people exactly how far he was willing to go to achieve what he believed was the perfect appearance. And the methods were extreme. He openly discussed using anabolic steroids and SARMs while still very young, claiming the results were simply too effective to ignore. In his view, natural progress was slow and inefficient. If a shortcut existed, he believed it made no sense not to take it. But the conversation didn't stop at performance enhancers. During streams, he began casually talking about using powerful stimulants as part of his routine. At one point, he claimed he used crystal meth as a way to suppress his appetite and stay extremely lean, something he referred to as lean maxing.
My top drugs are
According to him, it wasn't as dangerous as people believed. Critics strongly disagreed. Clips of these conversations spread quickly across social media, with many viewers accusing him of promoting dangerous behavior to a young audience. But the controversy only seemed to fuel his growth. Instead of backing away from the spotlight, Clav leaned even further into the persona. He launched a paid coaching program promising subscribers better looks, a stronger social circle, and greater success. The message was clear. Appearance was the ultimate form of self-improvement, and if you were serious about changing your life, you needed to optimize your looks first. To supporters, he was brutally honest about a reality most people were afraid to talk about. To critics, he was encouraging people to risk their health chasing unrealistic beauty standards. But the real backlash hadn't even started yet, because once his streams began attracting larger audiences, the things happening live on camera started to shock even long-time viewers. And suddenly, Clavicular wasn't just controversial, he was becoming one of the most chaotic personalities on the internet. The moment Clavicular started streaming regularly, the internet realized something important. This wasn't just a guy with unusual opinions. His entire life was unpredictable. One moment he might be explaining facial ratios like a scientist. The next moment he'd be brutally rating strangers' appearances in front of thousands of viewers. During one stream, he analyzed a woman's face in extreme detail, pointing out supposed flaws in her bone structure and giving her a brutally low rating.
She got 3.5. Why and how can she improve?
Well, her mid face is way too long. Obviously, she's got the jowls coming in, horrible nasolabial folds, horrible total facial width to height ratio. Just really bad age indicators, but obviously at 30, that's not something really that's going to surprise me. Her upper maxilla is super recessed, horrible infraorbitals. That's why your under eyes are coming in like hell. Really recessed chin. All the facial convexities are wrong. Her radix is recessed. Moving on.
The clip spread everywhere. Even some people who followed looks maxing thought the moment was uncomfortable to watch. But what really pushed things into viral territory were the streams where Clav attempted to perform cosmetic procedures live on camera. In one widely shared clip, he injected cosmetic substances into his girlfriend's face while viewers watched in real time. The stated goal was to improve facial definition. To many viewers, it looked reckless. Comments poured in accusing him of going far beyond self-improvement and into dangerous territory, but Clav seemed unfazed. In fact, he often explained that his goal wasn't simply to look good or attract attention. According to him, the real objective was something called mogging. In looks maxing slang, that means completely outclassing everyone around you in appearance. It's not about fitting in, it's about being visibly superior, and the way he talked about it made one thing very clear. This wasn't just content. Clav genuinely believed that achieving physical dominance through appearance would unlock a better life. But while the internet argued about his ideas, things in the real world were starting to unravel, because the deeper his obsession went, the harder it became to keep a normal life together. By the time Clavicular became widely known online, controversy seemed to follow him everywhere. But eventually, the chaos started spilling out of live streams and into the real world. One of the first major turning points reportedly happened during his time at college. According to Clav himself, someone had gathered screenshots of his forum posts, including discussions about substances, extreme looks, maxing practices, and other controversial ideas, and sent them to university officials. Soon after, campus authorities searched his dorm room. What they allegedly found were various hormones and peptides connected to the lifestyle he had been openly discussing online. Not long after that, Clav claimed he was kicked out of university.
I was kicked out of uni. Unfortunately, someone decided to archive all of my posts and apparently find out where I went to university and send them all to the public safety at my university, which prompted them, the university, to do a search of my room and uncover certain looks maxing peptides. And I'm not sure how we're looking in terms of whether I'll go back or not at this current point. Now I am able to fully dedicate my time to looks maxing, so I think this is going to wind up being a blessing in the end.
Instead of stepping away from the spotlight, he leaned further into the internet persona. Streaming became his main focus, and he started appearing alongside other controversial online personalities. That exposure brought even more attention, and even more problems. Clips circulated of him being removed from clubs during live streams after causing disruptions. In other moments, he was confronted by people who clearly weren't fans of his content. Then came one of the strangest incidents tied to his name. During a live streamed moment that spread widely online, Clav appeared to hit someone with his vehicle. Later, he claimed the person had been stalking him, though many details surrounding the situation remained unclear. The internet reacted exactly how you might expect. Some viewers believed his explanation. Others accused him of treating a serious situation like a joke, especially after he referenced the incident humorously in later streams.
Hey, who are you?
Clavicular.
Why are you so fancy and popular?
It's because I ran over a guy with my car.
Why?
Around the same time, rumors and reports began circulating about other legal issues, including a restraining order connected to online disputes. Whether every story was fully accurate or not, the effect was the same. Clavicular's reputation was shifting. He wasn't just the strange face of looks-maxing anymore. Now he was becoming something else entirely. A chaotic internet character whose life seemed to generate controversy wherever he went. And yet, despite everything, his audience kept growing, which only encouraged him to push things even further. For most people, the amount of controversy surrounding Clavicular would probably be enough to slow down. But if anything, it seems to have pushed him deeper into the lifestyle he promotes. One of the biggest examples is the list of procedures he's openly discussed pursuing in order to improve his appearance. Among them is double jaw surgery, an intense medical procedure where surgeons cut and reposition both the upper and lower jaw to change facial structure. The process can cost tens of thousands of dollars and requires months of recovery.
So are you still doing that little jaw thing I read about?
Yeah, just a little difficult right now.
Good-looking kid. What are you talking about, bro?
I appreciate it, man. But anything to mog,
Just mogging's number one?
it's got to be number one.
Okay.
And that's only one part of the plan. Clav has also talked about potentially undergoing limb lengthening surgery, a controversial procedure designed to increase height by gradually separating leg bones and allowing them to regrow longer. The surgery can add several inches to a person's height, but it's expensive, painful, and comes with significant risks. Still, he's made it clear that he sees these trade-offs as worth it. In his mind, physical appearance is one of the most powerful advantages a person can have in modern society, and if there's a way to improve it, even through painful or extreme methods, he believes people should consider it. That mindset is exactly why his content continues to attract attention. Some viewers see it as brutally honest self-improvement, others see it as a dangerous obsession fueled by internet validation. But one thing is certain, the more chaotic his life becomes, the more people seem to watch, which raises a bigger question. If the internet keeps rewarding this behavior with views, money, and attention, how far will someone like Clavicular actually go to stay on top? In a strange way, Clavicular has become more than just another controversial internet figure. He's turned into a kind of real-time experiment playing out in front of millions of viewers. On one side, you have people who see him as brutally honest, someone willing to say out loud what many quietly believe. That appearance has an enormous impact on how people are treated in life. Those supporters argue that the world rewards good looks, and Clav is simply exposing a reality most people pretend doesn't exist. But on the other side, critics see something very different. To them, his content represents the extreme end of internet self-optimization, a place where improving yourself slowly turns into obsessively chasing physical perfection at any cost. The substances, the risky procedures, the constant need to mog everyone around him. It raises a bigger question about the entire culture that helped create him. When self-improvement becomes an endless pursuit of perfection, where does it actually stop? And maybe that's the reason people keep watching. Not just because of the chaos, but because Clavicular represents something the internet hasn't fully figured out yet. The line between improving yourself and losing yourself in the process. And if the past few years have proven anything, it's this. The deeper he pushes that line, the more the internet seems unable to look away.